Hi guys, this is kbunschoten over here at Certum Solutions, and I wanted to go through some features or just some differences. It's kind of been the current path I've been on. The differences between QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, so that as you know, there's this big push for QuickBooks Online in the market, due to it being what they call purely cloud-based or pure SaaS versus desktop. There's a lot of questions from customers that are like, how does this work in QuickBooks Desktop versus how does this work in QuickBooks Online? Similarly, I actually had somebody ask me about the chart of accounts feature in QuickBooks Online on another video. So I thought, you know what? I'll knock out two birds, one stone today. We'll go through both really quickly. I don't think it's going to take a lot of time and help you with that decision so you kind of see that. You're also going to hear commentary from me on how I use different features in my own professional life. Okay. Before we get started, do me that favor. Y'all know what I'm going to say. If you could please subscribe to my channel so whenever we have new content out, it bings you and you can watch it on YouTube. Similarly, if I get annoying, you can unsubscribe, but please don't. And then like the video, so the video so we get the most likes on, I actually pay attention to that. That's your way of voting, okay? I will do more videos about the stuff you like the most. If I don't see a lot of likes, I go, well, that was not a good one. Let's move on from there, okay? I apologize. I'm not at my office today. I'm working from home, actually waiting on an electrician to come take a look at why our lighting is so dim here. But you know what? It's not about me. It's about you. So let's get started. So here we are. This is actually a QuickBooks sample file. If you can see my screen right here, I am in the chart of accounts, but just so everybody sees how I got there, I'm going to start back at the home screen, okay? You can get in QuickBooks Desktop, and again, this is QuickBooks Desktop. I'm actually in QuickBooks Enterprise Accountant Solution. You can get here to the chart of accounts by going to your lists if you want, but honestly, I go in there so much, I use the shortcut on this one, and I know that a lot of us accountants, they use the shortcuts. I'm kind of lazy about using shortcuts, which is kind of backwards because you'd think I'd use them more, but I don't. But when it comes to chart of accounts, I do. So you hit your Control A while you're in the software. It's going to pop up your chart of accounts, and then here you go. Okay. This is a sample file. You can see your company checking account, your accounts receivable, your other current assets, an order of liquidity, and the different categories that you have. You can double click on any of these and go into the register, okay? And for those of us old enough to remember, it looks a lot like those checkbook registers that we had back in the day. But if you want to go in and edit it, you just go here down to your account button. And I did that really fast. Let me go start over. Go to your account button and click edit. Okay. And here's your name. And if you want it to be a sub-account, so you know how you have like headers, sometimes you organize stuff in groups. So your group would be the top header, and then you have your sub-accounts underneath it. If you wanted to group accounts together, I use that a lot actually for things like my PP&E or my fixed assets. So if I want to group my depreciation along with an asset, I'll use a header account so it kind of nets it out, so to speak. I'll also use that for my cash accounts. So if I want to know total cash, but I have it spread across several different operational, payroll, whatever accounts, I'll do a header account for that, because what it'll do is when you run your reports, it'll actually group that stuff together, okay? The other thing is super helpful for is if you have corporate credit cards for your company. So if like you have one corporate account with, say, Chase, and then you've got Sally and Bob and Joe that all have their own profile. But when you get that statement, right, you've got their activity, but all the payments are going to that top account, and you need to know how to allocate those payments across everybody. I find that it's really helpful to track all their activity on their own ledger as a sub-account, and then have it all under the company credit card account, and then you reconcile at that top level. Now you'll still need to do an adjusting entry to otherwise your sub-accounts will kind of run this negative balance, and you'll have like the payments up in your header account. But the idea is there, you can do that adjustment as you need to, but in the meantime, you can reconcile that top account, and you know that your credit card accounts are both reconciling correctly, and you're keeping those sub ledgers for your team. There's something that you may not see here because this sample company doesn't have it turned on, and $5 to the person that guesses it. I'm not actually going to give you $5, but you get the gist. You don't have an account number here. So those of us that like using account numbering, this is not turned on. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. But we have an account type. You have a long list of account types you can choose here. Okay. I'll give you a minute to soak that in. And then you have your account name if you did have it as an account, sub-account. So if I had, like you see this right here, if I wanted to say, make this a sub-account of my cash accounts, I would do that here. Okay, save and close. Then it's going to say, hey, my company checking is actually sub-account of my cash accounts. Then when I run my balance sheet, I can go, okay, well, I've got so much in my checking account, but cumulatively across all my cash accounts, I have this much. Okay. If you have a bank account number or a routing number you'd like to put in here, or a description, this will actually pop up on your listing, your chart of accounts listing. Excuse me. I think I've got a little bit of a cold and I think it was deciding to rear its head today. Anyway, but otherwise the description's not used a whole lot. If you have tax line mapping, like if your tax accountant uses an Intuit tax preparation software, then you can actually do some mapping here and make their life a little bit simpler so those balances can actually be exported over to their tax planning software. If you ever decide not to use the account anymore and you want to make it inactive, you want to go ahead and click this box down here. It makes it disappear from your active listing. So I can't put anything towards it anymore. But if I run a historical report and it touches that account, it will still pop up. Okay. If I have bank feeds, so for those of you that have not used bank feeds, I really need to do a video that is specifically on bank feeds. If you have a personal finance app, anything like that, you're hooking it up to a bank and it brings your transactions in so you can see a running feed of what you have going on. That's exactly what this is. It does not post to your books until you accept it or match it to an existing transaction. If you decide you don't want it in at all, you can exclude it and it drops away. I get a lot of questions where they go, well, if I set up bank feeds, does that mean everything comes in? I kind of want to look at it first. No, it does not. It puts it in, like I call it, the twilight zone, where you can kind of take a look at that and see if that's what you want to bring in, or if maybe for some reason that transaction needs to be brought in a different way. You manually added it. You don't want to match it for some reason, whatever, that option is there. So with that being said, this is the actual listing here where you would set the account up. You can hit save and close. To go back to my initial discussion about, hey, I don't have accounts numbering. So this comes in. This is super helpful for a lot of our, data entry people and just for everybody in general. You can use accounts numbering or numbering of your accounts. Let me click here. Aha. Okay. Numbering of your accounts will help sort your general ledger accounts in the order you decide within the account type. So you can't have like an asset account drop beneath your liability account. But if you want your assets grouped in a certain way, use those account numbers to group them the way you want it to be. If you see this screen here, you'll notice this account numbering button was not turned on. Okay, so I just turned that on. I'll go back in to show you how that changed. And then requiring accounts, we always want to require accounts. That is turned on. And then this lowest sub-account only, where you noticed where I said the example about the cash accounts, where I have one cash account as just cash accounts, but then I have my checking, my payroll, whatever else underneath that. I don't want people to sit here and enter transactions to my top level account, right? I wouldn't want them entering it to that cash account. So if you had that situation where you didn't want people adding it to that cash accounts button or that higher level, you can do that. You can turn on that show lowest sub account only, and it will only allow transactions at the lowest level of the account. Okay. I'm probably 50-50 as to how often I use that feature, but whatever you prefer, this is where your professional discretion comes into play. For classes, I want to make sure I mention this. This video is not technically about classes, but what classes do is they give you a horizontal dividing of your financial reports. So if you want to run a profit and loss and you want to divide stuff by, like, say, states. I'm going to say states, but it can be different types of revenue, whatever. So if you wanted, like, we're in North Carolina, if I wanted South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, I would have those as classes. But here, side note, it's not a great example. You can run reports that run off a state, but I'm just going to leave that for another day. If that's what I wanted to do, though. Instead of having ledger accounts that drop down and they mention those states, you could actually add classes to your accounts, keep that chart of account numbering shorter, and use that lateral divider to help divide out your details and your data so that you can make decisions based on that. So if you're a multi-state company and you need to run those reports to figure out where your revenue's coming from and where to whatever states you have nexus and the rest of it, and you need to run those reports, that's one way you could do it. You could also, again, run some other custom reports. This is something where you'd want to discuss it internally and decide the way you want to handle that. The thing to be said about class tracking is you only get one class dimension, so you want to use that wisely. Otherwise, you want to use custom fields or another way to slice and dice. And again, outside of scope of this video, I got to remember to stay focused on this. Anyway, so that's our account numberings, lowest sub-account, require accounts. I touched on classes and things. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Oh, biscuits. Well, I'm going to turn that off for now because I want to show you something. Look at this. You see how I turned on that account numbering? Okay, Katie, go back, click, click. Somebody said to me the other day, you do expert videos on QuickBooks. You should probably not call yourself stupid when you're on video. And I was like, yeah, I shouldn't, but I do. I do it actually constantly. It's not even about work. So account type bank, you can see my number here. And for those of you that are used to numbering chart of accounts, there is a nomenclature that we typically use, a numbering system. Your assets are usually ones, your liabilities are usually twos. Where's threes? Revenues are fours. I'm missing something. Threes, is that threes or equity, I think. Fives are cost of goods sold, six is expenses, and it goes on down to your other income, other expense, and so on. So this numbering system actually does have a reasoning behind it, so make sure that you know what that numbering system is, and that if you're a bigger organization approaching mid-market or in the mid-market, you start to use departments. You can also slice and dice those using classes, but if you wanted to incorporate that in the numbering system, it used to be, back when I started my career, you used departments and so on. You could incorporate that into your numbering as well. So they had a language of their own. But anyway, that field is there to be used however you need to use it, okay? And it pops up only when you have that on. And this might be the time when I do that courtesy reminder. Always make sure you've reviewed your preferences in whatever software you're using, because the number of times we get calls and somebody's like, I can't do this software, doesn't do it. And it's like, that's because you forgot to turn on the preference, just keep that in mind. So that's actually the chart of accounts numbering in QuickBooks Desktop. I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes, so I'm not going to jump into reporting and stuff, but if you give me your questions, I'll do another video and I'll make a playlist, okay? I'm jumping over now to our QuickBooks Online Advanced demo, which should look familiar. I do a lot of videos using this demo. And you access your chart of accounts from right here under your company down to chart of accounts, okay? A lot of it is the same, okay? It's actually very similar. I'm actually trying to scratch my head to see if there's a whole lot of difference. When it comes to the chart of accounts, I can't think of a ton of difference between the two programs. There probably is something. I will say different tax systems. I know even within the Intuit family, I think the Pro Connect connects to QBOA. I think the Pro Series, the Lacert, that actually connects the desktop, but I might be wrong on that. So here is your QuickBooks Online chart of account setup. You have your account type bank, you have your detail type cash on hand, See here, okay, it's the same thing. You have a lot of the same options there. Oh, one thing I should make sure you know, within QuickBooks Enterprise and Desktop, you can have multiple AR accounts, multiple AP accounts, and that's the only limitation I'm running into right now, but I might think of something later. If I do, I'll put it in the notes. With QuickBooks Online, you pick one main AR account, one main AP account. You can't toggle down between different AR and AP accounts like you can a desktop. So if that's something that's important to your business, that's going to be a deciding factor to move to QuickBooks Enterprise. And that's not something I typically see, so if that's not a deciding factor, you're totally fine at QuickBooks Online. You can use journal entries and things to kind of move between different AR and AP accounts, but it's an extra step, and we try to stay away from journal entries when we can. The big thing to remember with QuickBooks is when you can use a form, use a form. When there's no way you can accomplish what you're trying to do with anything but a journal entry, that's when you use a journal entry, okay? So here's your account type, here's your detail type, here's the name, here's the number. So this is actually where I would put like, I think the other one was, there you go. So that's where you put your account number, okay? Your description right here that would show up on your report. So here's another tip. If you have somebody start new as a bookkeeper or accountant at your firm or practice or business, nonprofit, and so forth, run your chart of accounts listing and either print it out or send it to them in a PDF, because this description here, this is a free-flowing form that's there for reference. You can put tips and things in there of what that account is for, and that new person is going to be forever grateful that you went that extra step and filled out that description field, okay? Moving back to this, your sub-account, again, you have that option for that sub-account. So if I wanted to do that cash account grouping like I just told you, you can do that here, okay? And then I'm going to hit save and close. One thing I'll also note is it also always asks you, what is the opening balance for this account? I hate using that field because people don't think about the other side of that entry. You don't, in accounting, you don't do one-sided entries where you set up a balance and it just goes nowhere. That other side is going somewhere. So this debit right here, it looks like one number. It's a debit and a credit. Where did that credit go? When you put in that beginning balance, it went to your opening balance equity. I call that our trash account, okay? I hate that account. I wish it didn't exist. I wish you had to shut it down. Nobody could ever post anything to it again once you have the file set up, because it becomes a dumping ground where people put in opening balances and stuff like that, and they may not know there's that other side of that entry. It ends up in opening balance equity, and here you come, you know, taking a look at a file, trying to figure out why things aren't quite balancing the way they should, and you go, well, that's weird. You've got this big, you know, trash can full of calculations here in this opening balance equity account. We got to get it cleaned up. So keep that in mind. Don't use the beginning balance feature if you can help it. That is one example of when I would use a journal entry. If you need to, just know that that other side is going there, and hit save and close. Okay. Perfect. So that's your numbering here in QuickBooks Online. Let's see, we could do batch actions. You can make these inactive in batches. Okay, you can hit edit. Oh, that's one thing I really do like about here. I think it might be, I don't think we could do this at desktop, but I might be wrong. Yeah, I think we could do it under add edit batch entries. But you could change your numbering on your chart of accounts with that pencil, which I think is really cool, because the other thing you'll notice is if you've been doing accounting for a while, sometimes you'll set up your chart of accounts numbering, and over time it needs to change, okay? So maybe there's an adjustment or something that needs to be made. Maybe you accidentally put two of your accounts, like these two bad boys, 1010 and, well, if this was 1010, 1011, and you're like, oh gosh, I didn't put enough space between there, you need to renumber them for some reason, that little pencil is going to be super helpful, okay? That is the chart of accounts in QuickBooks. I'm trying to think of what else I could touch on there. Let me see. Let's go over to your preferences real quick. And we're coming up at 20 minutes, so I have to wrap this up anyway. Okay, so let's see. Your numbering, you can turn on your chart of accounts numbering here too. Let me see. I should have double checked this before I got on here. I'm trying to remember where we do your, there we go, right there. I knew it was in here somewhere. Enable account numbers. So I showed you how to enable account numbers with QuickBooks Desktop. This is where you do it with QuickBooks Online. Okay, that is my time. I'm actually over by a few minutes. If you have any questions, you'd like me to dive deeper into any of this, please do those comments, because just like that really nice lady did, she was like, hey, I liked your video. However, I would have liked to see more information on the chart of accounts. I love that feedback because that gives me ideas. So give me that feedback. I'd love to dive into your topic, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again, and thanks for watching our channel. And again, don't forget to subscribe for me before you go. Don't forget to like it before you go, and then send me a comment or what have you. So thank you. All right, talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Bye.